Episode 5, The Weakest Link. Antoine was sitting in a tree, water balloon in hand, waiting for some unlucky animal to pass beneath him. He had developed some new tricks and pranks, but always preferred using the water balloon. There was nothing like it for a high surprise factor and an instant reaction. He glanced over some nearby trees. He had ring some tripwires connected to, what else, piles of water balloons, but that was only a setup. The balloons in the trees were filled with warm water, not too uncomfortable, but the ones he had with him in his bucket were kept in ice water that was just above freezing. They would sting on impact, then freeze on bursting. Piles of balloons in the trees just to his northwest were triggered. He heard 2 or 3 pairs of feet running in his direction. He picked up a water balloon in his other hand, and then waited patiently for his victims to appear. In a few seconds, Bunny, Rudder, and Uncle Chuck came running by, arms above their heads. They were only slightly wet, and Uncle Chuck looked completely dry. He stopped under the tree Antoine was in.
"Can't you control that boyfriend of yours?" Rudder asked, upset.
"I tried, but there ain't nothing I can do when he comes to his pranking us," Bunny answered. "Well, he needs is a taste of his own medicine." Antoine smiled. He always threatened that, whether he was present or not, but he could never catch them. He held up the water balloons over Rudder and Bunny, prepared to drop them.
"In fact," Uncle Chuck was saying, "maybe you should learn that lesson now."
Antoine saw his danger, tried to grab onto the tree, but was too late. Bunny and Uncle Chuck both grabbed hold of the tree and shook it roughly. Antoine fell, screaming to the ground, and the bucket filled with ice water balloons fell on him. Bunny, Rudder, and Uncle Chuck all started laughing loudly.
"Looks like we caught you this time, Aunt,"
Rudder said, wiping a tear from his eye.
"You're getting way too predictable."
Antoine got to his feet with whatever dignity he could muster. So did it seem," he said, teeth chattering from the cold water that was dripping down his body. He brushed the broken balloons off his shoulders and face.
But you're not being so lucky when I start using my tricks." "Come on, Aunt," Uncle Chuck said. "You've been threatening that for almost a month now. You still have nothing to show for it."
Disgruntled, Antoine started shuffling off towards his hut. But Bunny grabbed him on a close embrace. "Well," she said softly, "it seems like the least I can do to help you dry your off." She tilted him backward and kissed him deeply. The others were wondering what she meant, until steam started rising off of Antoine.
"Let's leave those two alone," Uncle Chuck said, pulling Rudder away. "Besides, we need more to finish work on the derobotizer." "True," Rudder said, walking on his own now. "Too bad we couldn't get those parts we needed, but Robotropos has suddenly become really active." "Yeah, Ari and Lupe were really upset we missed our chance, but they understood. We can't lose sight of what makes us flame fires, and family is definitely one of those things."
Bunny and Antoine never noticed them leave, glad to see where Annette passing a kiss. They might have stayed there all day, and certainly neither one would be averse to it, but they were rudely interrupted. Sonic and Sandra came running by side. Sonic gave her one of his old backpacks, and they looked more like each other than ever. Sally and Tails were flying along, just above and behind their significant others, watching them carefully. Tails and Sandra made it official that they were going out, and the other citizens of Knotholes found it nice to have a young couple around. So much so, the others were starting to date. It has proven that sometimes the sea of loves can take root even in the most war-torn of grounds. Sonic and Sandra came to an abrupt halt just in front of Bunny and Antoine, with Sally and Tails doing likewise. Bunny and Antoine looked up from their kiss as Bunny brought Antoine to his feet. "Don't stop on our account," Sandra said slyly. "In fact, maybe I could persuade Miles to let me do that to him." Tails blushed bright red, and Sandra became very open about the relationship once she and Sally had the talk, but Tails preferred to keep it between themselves. "But meet me later, Sandra," he said quickly, hunting beside her. "But we're not done with this yet."
"Miles is right, Sandra," Sonic said, laughing.
"First things first." "Sonic!" Tails yelled. "No, I hate that name."
"But she called you it," Sonic said tauntily.
"Well, that's different." "Oh, will you two grow up?" Sally exclaimed as she landed near Sonic, exasperated. "What do you expect, Sally?" Sandra asked with a grin. "They're boys."
"Yeah, Sandra, is that any way for a lady or a princess to talk?"
Bunny asked, doing her best definition of Rosie. "Maybe not, but you know I'm right." Sonic and Tails both started to say something, but Sandra gazed out and Sally gave their boyfriends a kiss, causing each to stop and fall flat on his face. Antoine shook his head in mock disgust. "It is pathetic that they just allow themselves to be controlled like that," he said disapprovingly. "I would never be allowing a woman to do that to me." "Oh, really?" Bunny asked. Again. "Let's still see about that." She pulled him close and let loose one of the most passionate kisses anyone had ever seen. He started rising off Antoine again at such a rate that he all expected Antoine to melt from that kiss. But Antoine just took it in stride, started tripping Bunny backward, kissing her the same way. Bunny was able to keep it up for a while, but she was soon falling limp in Antoine's arms, her round limbs glowing a slight red from tremendous heat. Antoine brought her up to her feet and released her. Bunny's eyes were so crossed he could barely be seen. She swayed slightly, and Antoine had to put an arm around her to support her weight. Sonic and Tails looked at Antoine jealously. "How does he do it?" they mumbled under their breath. Bunny shook her head, as if trying to loosen her eyes. "So, what were y'all doing around here anyways?" she asked, still trying to see straight. "Sonic and I were racing to see who really is the fastest on Mobius," Sandra said. "This one was a tie, like the last 3 or so races, so now we have to race back to Knothole." "I see," Antoine said. "Do not be allowing us to continue any longer, but please let us be knowing what the income is." "You're my outcome, ain't?" Bunny said gently, finally able to see straight. "Is it just me, or is Antoine's speech becoming more understandable?" Sally observed. "Oui, Bunny has been so kind to teach me on to better speak the language. I have not been losing my accent, but it will be made more understandable. Well," Sonic said, "if you can do it, more power to you, Ant." He pushed up to his feet. "As for me, I'm not holding back anymore." He pulled a power ring out of his backpack. Thanks to Uncle Chuck, Sonic found that the power ring still enhanced his speed, even though it was already enhanced. "Now you're gonna see some real speed!" Sonic. "Hey!" Sandra yelled. "No fair! You said no power rings!" She grabbed it out of his hand. What happened next amazed everyone. As soon as Sandra pulled the ring from Sonic, she was surrounded by the same yellow glow that lit the power ring. "What's going on?" she screamed. Then she was off, cruising so fast she was little more than a light blue and brown burr. She bounced like a rubber ball off trees and rocks, all the while gaining more speed. Sonic reached down and grabbed her as she passed by him, nearly pulling his arms out of her sockets. Once he came to a stop, she stood for a moment and passed out with a soft, "Ugh." The power ring dropped from his hand, its power spent. All present stared at Sandra. "This is mondo weird," Sonic said, summing up everyone's faults. "How could she use the power rings?" "I don't know, Sonic," Sally said. "But maybe we better get back to Knothole in case he did anything to her. Maybe Uncle Chuck will know." Tails carried Sandra from Sonic's arms and took off for Knothole. Even the others scrambled after him. Antoine was already heading there with Bunny, but stopped when his watch alarm sounded. "I'm sorry, Bunny, but this is a place I need to go right now," he said, switching off the alarm. "Please explain to the others for me." Bunny looked at Antoine hard. "Antoine, you've been disappearing every day for the last week or so without telling anyone where you're going. Want to let me in on the secret?" "I was in good time, Bunny, but for now I cannot. I know you'd be understanding, yes? I'll be understanding now. We promise no more secrets from each other, remember?" "Oui, but this involves an ancient family tradition. I am honored about not to reveal it to anyone until the time is right. Do you trust me?" And Bunny looked down. "Of course I do. What kind of question is that?" "Then please trust me," he said, holding her close. "You know I would never intentionally do anything to hurt you." Bunny sighed. "I'll call you when. Well, how much longer?" "Only a few more days, my love. I promise on my love for you. That's all I'll lay here. You do what you got. See you later?" "Of course." He brought her hand to his lips, kissed it. "Until later then." He turned crisply on his heel and walked away, going in the opposite direction from Knothole. Bunny watched him go for a bit, then ran towards Knothole. "Well, these days, I'll find out what you're up to, Antoine," she thought, "or my name ain't Bunny Rabbit." Meanwhile, Antoine continued through the forest, humming happily to himself. He had not been completely truthful with Bunny before. It was true that he was about to do was a family tradition and secret, but he was able to share the secret with those he trusted. The reason he did not tell her was it directly involved her. He walked up to another nondescript tree and stopped. Looking around to make sure no one was nearby, he pulled down one of the branches. The roots of the tree moved aside, revealing a staircase leading down to a dark cave. Antoine smiled. This was one of his family's greatest treasures. In this cave was a vein of pure gold and an area of high-quality diamonds, enough to match all the money of the royal treasury of Mobitropolis ever held. And more. His family could have lived a life of ease and contentment, having whatever they ever wanted. But the Dolcolites had placed an even greater value on the cave. For numerous generations, the eldest son of the Dolcolite line had traveled to this cave to mine a single gold nugget and a single diamond from his deaths. Often he would spend days looking for the perfect ones, only for one chance. Whatever fell to the ground, no matter how big or small, would have to be taken. That done, he would melt the gold and shape the diamond, forging with his own hands a ring that would give the woman he wanted to spend the rest of his life with the night he asked for her hand in marriage. Now it was Antoine's turn. Antoine sighed, looking at the cave. Legend held that as long as this tradition was carried out, the marriage brought by the ring would never be broken. But so far he had not found that perfect diamond yet. The gold was already in his hut, safely locked away from Bunny's prying eyes. But all the diamonds he had found either been too large or small. Maybe he would find it today. He certainly couldn't keep Bunny in the dark much longer. He lit a torch and started to step down into the cave when a voice from behind him stopped him cold. "So, you and Bunny are actually getting that close?" A distinctly Japanese voice asked. Antoine turned around quickly and jumped from the few steps he had descended. "Who's there?" Antoine called, pulling the branch again to hide the cave's opening. "It's so nice of you to step out into the open. I mean, I really didn't want to go after you in those caves. A guy could really get lost down there if he didn't know his way around. And I'm pretty sure you know your way around down here, huh, Anthony?" A black-clad squirrel came out from behind a tree and leaned down against it. Antoine stared at the squirrel before him, a distant memory reawakened. "There's only one animal who ever called me Anthony, and Bunny. Could that be you, Donovan?" he asked disbelievingly. "Do you still keep your journal under the second board of your closet?" the squirrel asked, idly tapping his boots against the ground. "Only one animal could be knowing that. It is you, is it not?" Donovan nodded. "But how could it be you?" Antoine named. "You and your family have been disappearing before the coup." "I hear things are going quite well for the Freedom Fires," Donovan said, ignoring Antoine's question. "The balance of power is heavily in your favor." "What business is that being of yours?" Antoine asked, an uneasy feeling growing inside of him. Donovan pushed away from the tree and started walking towards Antoine. "Just call me the Equalizer," he said. "The Freedom Fires are a very strong chain right now. It is my job to find the weakest link of this chain and bring it to Snively. Nothing personal. I would have never been thinking that you could be stooping so low as to work without enemies," Antoine said heavily. "We used to be the best of friends." Antoine's head sunk slowly as everything Donovan said sunk in. "What are you meaning, nothing personal? Are you implying that I am the weakest link?" Donovan walked up until he was face to face with Antoine. "Indubitably. Now, are you going to make this easy on me or hard on you?" "How am to be putting this?" Antoine asked nonchalantly. "Perhaps this will suffice." He slipped his right arm under Donovan's left and launched the squirrel over his hip. Antoine started running before Donovan even hit the ground. "If I can make it to the touch," he thought, "I should be safe." Donovan landed hard on his back. "Ugh, since when did you learn to do that?" he muttered. Then he noticed the direction Antoine was running. Uh-oh. He just scrambled to his feet. "Device 1, activate!" Tess fired from the soles of his boots. He flew after Antoine. Antoine was already inside of the turrets. Tess had kept his promise by moving the entire turrets to the outskirts of Knothole, but declined actually becoming part of the village. He preferred to maintain a level of solitude, but wanted to be nearby in case of emergency. This seemed like a reasonable compromise. Just as Antoine was about to reach Sanctuary, Donovan grabbed him from behind under the arms and flew up with him. He sprawled up to the air, dropped down fast, making sure Antoine landed on his head. Antoine yelled once and collapsed unconscious. Donovan checked for a pulse and found that he still lived. He picked Antoine up on his shoulder and said, "Like I said, hard on you."
Was this all necessary, Donovan?
Asked an aged voice as Donovan readied himself to fly off. Without turning around, Donovan replied,
"It was either this, or let him get away, Tannis. Once he was on holy ground, I could not touch him. I have not broken the covenant." "Yes, I know. The covenant still applies to you. The entire covenant."
"We're not fighting now, are we? Antoine is already unconscious, and I shall have him in Robotropolis before he awakens. When we were fighting, you did not make your presence known."
"You always abide by the letter of the law, especially when it comes to new posts. But you're right. You are not in violation of the covenant."
Donovan nodded.
"Then I shall take my leave. Device 1 activated."
Donovan flew off, carrying a limp Antoine.
"And I cannot interfere unless called upon," Dan thought. "Though he's technically working for Snively, he was not when the covenant was broken. I will bide my time."
He turned and walked back to the church. Donovan soon arrived at Robotropolis and deposited Antoine into the holding cell Snively especially designed. "The walls and bars are titanium steel," he told Donovan proudly. "Diamond glass shielding will drop as soon as the bars are touched. Electrical wires are buried in the floor and will be activated if he gets too rowdy."
"Whatever," Donovan said impatiently. "Now if there's nothing else, I'll be leaving."
"What's your hurry?" Snively asked. "Besides, I think I might be able to convince you to complete the job."
"What do you mean, complete it? I agreed only to capture the weakest link and bring him here, which I did."
"True, and I can think of no one weaker than that fox, but I want all the freedom fires."
"Wait a minute. I am concerned with only restoring the balance. I have done that. There's no way you convince me to do more."
"You think not, eh?" Snively said. "Perhaps you don't know more about this," he exclaimed, holding up a rather ordinary-looking robot control. Donovan said nothing, but the change in his demeanor was present. "Ah, I see you recognize this," Snively continued. "In one of Robotnik's old files, I discovered what he was using to force you to help him. Then I found this. I don't know why he never forced you to go after the freedom fires, but I'm not as stupid." Donovan's upper lip quivered slightly.
"What will you have me do?"
he asked, voice simple and hard as ice. "Simple. I want you to capture the major freedom fires."
"And that would be?"
"The princess, robotic rabbit, two-tailed fox, that miserable hedgehog, and the new hedgehog that recently joined them."
"Whoa. Rudder just got dissed."
Donovan looked startled for a second.
"New hedgehog? It seems I have to update my surveillance,"
he muttered. "Do we have an understanding?" Snively asked, interrupting Donovan's thoughts.
"Why should I do this?"
"I'll make you a fair offer. Do this, and the remote is yours to do as you wish. Refuse, and I push this interesting little red button here." Snively allowed his thumb to graze the button.
"Wait!"
Donovan yelled, taking a step forward towards Snively before recovering himself.
"What happens if I fail?"
"As long as you tried, how can I fault you? But, depending on how successful you were, things may improve, or worsen, or remain the same." Donovan removed his glasses, showing purple eyes flecked with red.
"Farewell, Snively. I have no choice. But be warned, if anything happens to them, and I do mean anything, you will not see the next sunrise."
"I've heard that threat before, and I'm still here. In fact, your friend here is the one who threatened it. You may go now, but remember, they all have to be in that cell at the same time. I'll even help you flush them out."
"Fine," Donovan said, placing a chip on the inside wall of the cell and glasses back on. "I'll get them here, but it'll be your job to keep them here."
He turned crisply away on his heel and walked away.
"You don't really mean to follow through, do you, Master?"
Biddle sarcastic as he stepped out of the shadows. Unlike the big round boy, I will keep my promises, but only to the letter of the law, Sniffly said and laughed. Meanwhile, Antoine had been laying there, awake, but playing it off like he was still unconscious. He thought, reflecting on what he had heard and seen through half-closed eyes. Maybe Donovan is not so much of an important this after all. Patience is advised here. Back in Knothole, Uncle Chuck had just finished using Nicole to give Sandra a medical scan, while they were all waiting for the results. Analysis complete, Sir Charles, Nicole said.
And results?
Unfortunately, power ring energy is completely suffusing her systems, making my scans useless.
In English, Nicole,
Sly said, tapping his foot. In other words, Nicole continued, whatever the ring did to her, I can't get a reading on it. How utterly odd, Rosie said, sitting next to Sandra, stroking back her hair. Yeah, Dulcie said, sticking her head through the window. I thought only Sly could use power rings.
Well, Sandra's speed might have something to do with it,
Uncle Chuck said thoughtfully.
When I encoded his DNA into the rings to make sure he could use them, I opened a way for myself as well, seeing as I am his uncle. In fact, that's what brought my mind back. His Sonic's super speed is genetic in origin, so he may share part of his DNA, and therefore also able to use them. We never did know where his speed came from in the first place.
It makes sense, Sally said. It certainly would explain why she could use them. Ugh, Sandra groaned, beginning to come around. What happened, Tails? I'm here, Sandra, Tails said, hurrying to her side and holding her hand. How are you feeling? Okay, I guess, she said, moving her various body parts to see if any were injured. What happened?
Let's just say you need to practice, Sonic said. Power rings are powerful stuff, as you might expect.
Yeah, I remember now. I used a power ring?
You sure did, Pine exclaimed. You almost went as fast as Sugar Hog here. Sandra said slowly.
Come in, Floyd. Are you there? She thought. So does this happen you should know about? Nothing. Sandra tried again, but no response. Sudden fear gripped her. She was cut off from the void. Whatever the power ring had done to her severed all communications between her and the void. For all she knew, the void thought she was destroyed. Sandra? Tails asked worriedly, seeing the fear spread across her face. It crossed her mind. The void thought she was destroyed, since she could act according to her own free will. She didn't know how long it would last, but she was sure she could keep the effect going as long as she was around the power ring. She didn't know yet what she would do, but she knew it would be all her choice. She would figure it out later when she was alone. I'm okay, Tails, she said, taking a deep breath. My body feels just a little weird.
This would be unexpected, Uncle Chuck said. This is a new experience for you. You'll get used to it in time.
Receiving intercepting message from Robotropolis, Nicole said, startling everyone. Nicole, play message. Sally said, picking her up. Metal Sign, come in, Steve said sniffly. They heard Sniffly say. We have captured that French fox and are ready to roboticize him. Antoine! Bunny yelled. Hang on, Sir Fox, I'm coming! Bunny, wait, Sally said, grabbing her arm. We need a plan. For all we know, this could be a trap. Sorry, Sally girl, but there ain't no time to waste. She shoved Sally off and ran through the door of the hut. Let her go, Sal, Sonic said. There ain't no reason with her because Antoine's involved. You're right, Sonic. How many power rings are available? Well, I do have one here in my backpack, and one should be coming up any time now. Good. When the other ring comes, we'll go after her in 2 teams. You and I will be the first, Sonic. Tails, you and Sandra make up the second. You two will leave 5 minutes after we do. Got you on, Sally, Tails said. Feeling up to this, Sandra? I guess, she said, standing up.
Larry and I will be here and monitor communications, Uncle Chuck said. If need be, we'll head out on Dulcie.
Is there anything I can do? Rosie asked. Why don't you go to the church and ask Thomas to pray for us? Sandra suggested. This is likely going to be an all-out assault. We need all the help we can get. There's something about that name, but I can't... Everyone know what to do? Sally asked. Let's do it to it. Everyone left. They did what they were told to do. Meanwhile, Bunny was carving a path of destruction through the great forest, heading straight for Metropolis. She paid no attention to anything in her path. It didn't move for her, so he went through it. Many trees fell by the wayside from her powerful blows. Not all of them were with black parts. All of her thoughts were focused on getting Antoine back, no matter what the cost. Donovan watched her from his hiding spot, shivered. Do I really want to mess with her in her state of mind? He thought. Ordinarily, no, but Snively is leaving me with no choice. I just hope she runs into my trap, and I don't lure her there. Bunny kept going until her body was about to give out. She clasped her hands and knees, sweat pouring from her body. I must go on, she said between pants. Don't know how much time I has. Oh, I wouldn't be too concerned about that, she heard a voice say. Bunny sprang to her feet and looked around. Seeing Donovan standing there, she asked, Who are you? You seem familiar, but I can't place it. Oh, I'm hurt, Donovan said, feigning surprise. You mean to tell me that you have forgotten one of your old friends, Bonnie? There's only one animal who's ever called me Bonnie. I thought you were dead, Donovan. Yes, well, I'm not. What do you mean I shouldn't be too concerned about Antoine? Because... He paused, then continued a fair mimicry of Antoine's voice. I am believing that you're to be joining him soon. Anger flashed across Bunny's face. You're the one who captured him! Turn him over to Snively! She yelled, running at him. Fast and furious, she struck down with chops, back fists, strikes, and jump kicks. Donovan backed up, playing the avoidance game. Bunny always seemed to just miss him, which made her even more furious. She lunged forward with a punch-kick combination. Donovan jumped up, landing on the side of the tree. He stepped on a button disguised as a knot in the knot of the trunk of a tree. Bunny struck a tree with a robotic fist and foot. Bunny pulled away, preparing to strike again, but she struck fast. What the hoo-ha hell is this? She yelled, pulling away with all her might, only to manage to shake under the tree. The airbark peeled away, revealing a tree-shaped structure made entirely of metal. It hung with electricity, and Bunny now felt a single electric current pass from the tree to her arm and leg. Device 2, activate, Donovan said, struggling to himself. A hum sounded from his shoes, and he clumsily jumped from the tree to the ground. What's going on here? Bunny demanded, trying to get free from the tree. Amazing, isn't it? Donovan asked conversationally. This is all one big magnet, made specifically to trap you. My boots are equipped with the same magnets, which I just activated, so unlike you, I can get away from it. My boy, Bunny said, twisting around. Well, you can't deal with this! She grabbed him from her throat with her good hand and started to squeeze. Ugh, but I can't! He pulled a small ball from his vest of hockey and sprayed it in her face. Bunny coughed and gagged as the gas had filled her head, then passed out. Donovan rubbed his throat. I really hate doing this, he thought, placing a chip on Bunny's arm. He pulled the remote from his vest and pushed a couple of buttons. Bunny was enveloped in a white light and disappeared. Now to prepare for the next one. Hey, Mike, you might want to take notes. This is how you make your OC sound cool and interesting. Antoine ran to Bunny as soon as he appeared in the cell. Bunny? CK asked, concerned. He hauled her out to a sitting position. Come on, up you go. He gently tapped the side of her face, trying to wake her up. Huh? Well, where? She said groggily. Bunny opened her eyes, trying to focus. Take it easy, Bunny, Antoine said. Donovan must have been using a teleportation chip to get you here. That's teleportation, Bunny said automatically, without thought. Just do me a favor and make the room stop spinning. Use some kind of gas and I'm late to knock me out. My little doll, Antoine cooed, hugging her close and putting her head on his shoulder. You just sit here and rest, and let the effects wear off. We'll be getting out of here soon enough, I promise. He started humming and rocking back and forth, trying to get Bunny to sleep. Bunny soon snuggled into him, was fast asleep. He carefully picked her up and placed her on his lap. She seemed so unworried now that she was asleep. He wanted to believe that everything would be okay, like he had told her. But he was worried. Nobody would be knowing about Donovan until he goes after them, he thought. By then it would become too late. I only hope Sonny could be the one to stop him. He is best hope now. Rosie watched a short distance from not halting the church. She wasn't as young as she used to be. Time had slowed her gait considerably, but yet she carried herself with such a dignified air that it seemed to walk slow, not that time had won the battle. She climbed a small step of steps to the church and walked through the open middle door. She walked through the front bench, looking around, admiring the many stained glass windows. Her eyes fell on the familiar figure of Andreas Sidrat and stopped. Why does that face seem so familiar? She wondered silently. I don't believe I've ever seen it. Maybe it's something similar to it.
Is something troubling you, my daughter?
Anita's voice asked from the hitherto unnoticed doorway. Rosie looked and saw a robed figure standing there, cowl drawn over his face. Oh, you startled me, she said. You must be Father Tannis. Hello. I'm here to pray that my friends return safely from a dangerous mission. I know I'm not the best one to be here, seeing as I'm not usually very religious, but is something wrong? Tannis just stood there, staring at Rosie.
No, it couldn't be,
he whispered in disbelief.
After all these years, he can't possibly be alive.
Father? Rosie asked worriedly.
Please, call me Tannis,
he said, a hint of nervousness in his voice.
I do not hold any formal titles.
Very well, Tannis. Tannis walked over to the bench and sat beside Rosie.
Now, what is this mission that you think is so dangerous your friends may not return?
One of our group, a young coyote named Antoine, has been captured by Snively and his forces.
Oh, Donovan, Tannis thought, what have you done?
They're going to try to save him before he gets roboticized, Rosie continued. But I fear that whatever has captured him may be after them as well.
I understand. Now, let us offer a prayer that they shall return.
He held Rosie's hands and his arm bound his head.
Let us pray.
Rosie bowed her head, and together they repeated a prayer she had known since childhood, ending in request of a safe return to the others. A warm feeling suffused her body. Suddenly she knew everything would work out for the best. Come in, Sal! Sly said to his communicator as he sped through the great forest. Bunny left an easy path to follow, but it looks like she was headed straight for Robotropolis. I thought as much, Sally replied. I could see the path from up here. Looks like she didn't take lightly to the idea of Antoine being captured. Oh, well, I guess... Hey, wait a minute. Sal was wrong. The path looks like it ends a little further up. You just go ahead and see if she's there. I'll catch up. Got you, Sal. He put the communicator in his backpack and sped up, pushing it at top speed. All of a sudden, a greenish-black ooze flew at Sonic. Sonic tried to dodge, but it was going too fast to avoid it. The ooze hit Sonic and immediately immobilized him. Ugh! Gross! Sonic exclaimed. I thought we cleared up all the Mega Muck.
Funny thing about Mega Muck, he heard a voice say, it just keeps popping up when you least expect it. When you agree, Quills.
Quills? Only one person? Yeah. Donovan said, stepping out into the open.
I know. I'm the only one who ever called you Quills. And you thought I was dead, right?
You must be the one who captured Antoine. But why, Donovan? You used to be our friend.
Times change, and so do animals, Donovan replied, looking away. I'm not the squirrel I used to be.
Sally! Sally called. Get away, it's a trap! Donovan's back, he's saying a trap!
Oh, Silly's here too,
Donovan asked, looking back at Sonic.
Maybe I could get both of you at once.
Highly unlikely, a dulcet voice said in Donovan's ear. Before he could react, Sally grabbed him in a full Nelson and pressed his back, bringing him up and over, bringing him down hard on the back of his head. Donovan grabbed the back of his head, stunned for a moment. Sally stood up out of the bridge and faced him. She grabbed his feet and brought him up to her waist. You used to be a good friend, she said. Now you're nothing but a common traitor. She stepped around his left leg with her right, placing her foot between his legs. She bent his left leg across and down, putting an ankle above his right knee in figure 4 position. She fell back and put her left knee above his left foot, completing the lock. Donovan screamed in intense pain. He knew that she liked to wrestle, and that she used a figure 4, but never seen it played like that. tried to turn over on his stomach to reverse the pressor, but Sally worked back forcefully, cranking up the pressor. "Tell me how to get him!" Sally yelled at him. "They're in Metropolis," he said through clenched teeth. "I thought you would know to get there by now." "Say, you got Bunny too?" Furious, Sally applied even more pressure. Tell me now, or I'll break their leg." Donovan blacked out into pain, and Sally stretched just long enough to grab Nicole from Sally's boot and put a chip in her place. He reached to his vest and pulled out a remote. Despite Sally pounding her fist into his already sore knee, he pressed the button just as Sally reached for the chip. Sally was surrounded by the same white light surrounded Bunny before. It disappeared with a half-finished curse. Donovan grabbed his knee and tried to massage out the pain. When it felt a little better, he opened it for Nicole and tried to pry open an access panel. He received a small electrical jolt for his troubles. "Warning," she said. "Unauthorized access will not be permitted to the main power source." Now just imagining Nicole standing in a shower curtain, covering herself, holding her dress close to her. "Authorization code Omega 439er. Donovan gasped. Nicole's monitor blinked. "Access granted, Donovan," she said, and opened up the panel he had been trying to. "You know performing this act will render me unable to operate." "I know that, Nicole," Donovan said as he reached in and pulled out a wire. "There." He started closing it up and putting the wire in his pocket. "They'll stop that." "Big mistake," he heard Sonic said. Raising his head, he saw Sonic freeing the Mega Monk and charging. Sonic grabbed Nicole out of Donovan's hand and ran by and put her in his backpack. "Bring Sally and the others back here now." "Or you'll do what?" Donovan asked, in too much pain to be civil. Sonic picked up to his feet and power slammed him. He walked to a nearby stump and climbed it. "This," he said. He tipped off, executing a full forward somersault before straightening up for a splash. Donovan brought his knees up to the last second. Sonic landed flush on the outstretched knees and bounced off, holding his stomach. "Impressive," Donovan muttered, struggling to his feet. "But this is far more effective." Donovan whacked Sonic across the face with a metal frying pan he produced from somewhere. Sonic's face turned with the impact and he fell to the ground, knocked senseless. Donovan studied the outline of Sonic's face in the pan. "I always said quills make quite an impression," he said, giving a tired laugh. He put a chip on Sonic and pushed the button on the remote, teleporting to the cell of Robotropolis. 4 down, 2 to go, he thought, leaning against the tree. Sonic came to a start, found Sally holding him down. "Easy, Sonic," she said. "The dizziness will pass in a moment." "Where are we?" he asked. "We are in Robotropolis," Antoine said, still holding Bunny, who was only now starting to wake up. Sonic felt his ribs, where he had heard something snap before. "Man, I should have some broken ribs from when you nailed me, but I feel fine." "This must be the healing part of the teleportation," Sally said. "I guess he wants us in perfect health when we're roboticized." Bunny blinked her eyes sleepily. "We got the two of you, huh?" she asked. "Now who's gonna stop him?" "Hey," Sonic said, sitting up. "Tails and Sandra are still out there. They may be young, but Donovan may underestimate them." "In the meantime, how are we going to be getting out of this hellhole?" "I've been thinking about that," Sally said. "He used some device to teleport us here. So, there must be a receiver chip somewhere in the cell." She reached to her boot for Nicole, but her hand closed out the air. "I forgot. Donovan took Nicole before he teleported me." "No problem, Sal," Sonic said, reaching to his backpack and taking out the computer. "But Donovan used some sort of access code to open her up and pulled out a wire. I don't think she'll be much help, unless..." "Unless what, Sonic?" "Hold on, Sal. Major brainstorm heading my way." He pulled the power ring from his backpack and handed it to Bunny. "Bunny, you think you can break this open?" "I'll try, Sir Herlock, but isn't that kind of dangerous?" "No more dangerous than staying here waiting for Donovan to finish capturing us." "He has a point, and I told me one of his queens," Antoine said chuckingly. "Alright, but I have to do this slowly." Bunny compressed an area of the ring to weaken it, and then started pulling it apart at that point. Sparks flew from the ring and resisted her treatment of it, but slowly gave it away. In a few moments, he had straightened it out to a rod. "How's this?" "Perfect," Sonic said, taking the rod. He opened the panel where he saw Donovan open and looked for the missing wires to be. He took one end of the rod to each connector and handed Nicole to Sally. Cross your fingers, Sally said, opening her up. Nicole, program diagnostic program level 1. Performing. Nicole said, program complete. All functions are peak efficiency, or better, due to added power from the power ring. Something very much like a sigh came from the speaker. Now I know what you meant, Sally, when you tried to describe using the deep power sounds. Now I just imagine Nicole's waking up and she's got a little coffee cup in her hand. I love links, Nicole. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Nicole, scan the cell looking for a microchip that could serve as a receiver for a teleportation device, Sally said, smiling. Beginning scan now, Sally. Estimated time of completion, 7 minutes. Well, Sally said, sitting down, nothing to do now but wait. Tails and Sandra were spinning through the green forest, following the paths of the others. When Tails noticed the path was ending and called to stop. I don't like this, he said. We haven't been able to contact Sonic or Aunt Sally for the past few minutes. Now the path ends. It would probably be a bad idea for both of us to charge him blindly, Sandra said. I'll tell you what. I'll circle around behind, and you keep going. If I guess this right, we should be able to trap whatever is capturing our friends between us. Sounds good. Okay, be careful. Tails gave Sandra a quick kiss on the cheek and flew on. Sandra ran off to the left, circling around as he had said. She still wasn't sure what was happening to her, but that wasn't important. She certainly was in danger, and she had to find her. The void won't like it if she's roboticized, she reasoned, though it rang hollow inside her mind. Tails flew up to where the path ended and landed. He searched for any signs of what had happened to the others. Hello there, someone said behind him, looking for something. Tails turned around. Do I know you? He asked the squirrel standing there. Oh, that's right. You weren't born when I left. My name is Donovan, and you are? I'm Tails, he said cautiously. Something about this guy scared him. Do you know what happened here? Oh, you mean to Quills, Silly, Bonnie, and Anthony? Donovan asked. Huh? You know them as Sonic, Sally, Bunny, and Antoine. Simple. I captured them and sent them to Robotropolis. What? Tails screamed. You better start doing some explaining now! How cute. The little one trying to save his friends. Tails couldn't bear to hear anymore. He flew Donovan at varying blades. Donovan simply grabbed Tails as he came near and threw him headfirst into a tree. The young fox yelled once, then collapsed in the heat, Tails twitching feebly. Finally, an easy one, Donovan thought, reaching for pocket for a teleportation chip. Hey Tails, you find anything? Sandra called, rising from the forest. Seeing Tails unconscious, jagged cut across his forehead, with Donovan standing over him. She stopped and drew herself to her full height. Who are you, sir, and what's happened here? She asked, a voice filled with cold rage. Donovan frowned. There's something not quite right about this girl, and he especially didn't like the way her eyes almost glowed blue. You may call me Donovan, he said slowly. And who might you be? I didn't know Sonic had any other relatives. I'm Sandra, Princess Sandra, of the House of Acorn, second in line to the throne of Mobius, she said hollowly, holding up her signet ring. Donovan scowled. This is impossible. King Acorn only had one daughter, and I know she is a Robotropolis. Sandra looked to her feet. So, you must be the one who's capturing everyone I care about. My friends, my adopted sister, and now my boyfriend. Donovan looked around, then at Tails. Boyfriend? He asked quietly. A single tail from her fellow eye, shattering as it hit the ground. I neither know nor care why you're doing this, she said, voice growing deeper and hoarser. But I know one thing. It stops now. She ended in more of a growl than words. Donovan backed up a couple of steps, taken aback by the tone of her voice. When she looked up and stared at him, he almost fell. Her eyes now shone with many colors, like sunlight passing through a crystal prism. What are you? He asked in awe. Someone you really don't want to deal with, she said, holding her hands in front of her. Her hands started glowing with the same light as her eyes. A massive crystal appeared, suspended between her hands. She moved her hands apart slowly, and the mask lengthened and narrowed until she had a long and very sharp crystal spear. Donovan watched wordlessly as he grabbed the spear with one hand and launched it out with a yell. Donovan threw himself flat, trying to avoid the spear. Sandra clenched the fist suddenly, cutting her own palm with her nails. The spear shattered into thousands of shards. Some of them ripped into his vest, ripping it asunder while not actually touching his fur or skin. The remaining shards tore into the tree behind him, devastating it instantly. Sandra ran over to Tails and ripped a strip of material over her vest and used it to bind Tails' head. "I didn't have to miss you now," she said, using another strip to bind her hand. "I'm going to return to Knothole and make sure he's safe. If the others are not back by the time I get him settled, I guarantee you this. I will find you, and I will not miss again." She picked up Tails and pulled the power ring from her backpack. She held it up and was surrounded by a bright yellow spear of light and ran it off with a resounding sonic boom. Donovan rolled over on his back and stared at the sky. "I definitely must update my surveillance equipment," he thought. He struggled to his feet. "Device 1, activate," he said, and flew articulately towards Knothole. "Scan complete, Sally," Nicole said, snapping the others from their thoughts. "Report," Sally said as the others huddled around. "There is one chip in this cell capable of receiving a teleportation signal." A beam shot out from Nicole and illuminated a chip on the wall. "Let's smash it," Sonic said, stepping towards it. "Sonic, wait a second. Maybe we can reverse this programming and get us out of here. Nicole, is this possible?" "Considering, Sally." The cell fell quiet for an occasional beat from Nicole, and sound Sonic's foot tapping. "Ordinarily, the process would take 2 hours to refresh the chip's programming. However, if I draw upon the power ring, I could complete it in 1 minute." "Are there any risks, Nicole?" Sally said. "You're not used to using that much power." "Risk calculation. 2% chance of adverse reactions. Of course, the chip will have to be activated by Donovan to allow me to send someone back along the signal. And the signal will only last long enough to return one of you." "Okay, we'll have one shot at this," Sally said. "Who's going?" "I almost got him last time," Sonic said. "I should go." "But he is severely underestimating me," Antoine said. "He believes I am the weakest link of our chain. Pleased to be allowing me to handle him. Besides," he added, "this is somewhat of a personnel issue with me." Sonic, "Oh god, we're doomed." "I agree with Sonic," Sally said. "If this is personal to you, Antoine, you may get too involved into it." "If I remember right, Sally girl," Bunny interrupted, "Antoine and Dolphin used to be the best of friends. He knows him better than any of us. Please go." "We don't have time to argue," Sally said. "Nicole, access reversal program. When chip activates, randomize between Sonic and Antoine to determine who goes." "Understood, Sally." Sandra ran through the great forest, bouncing off trees. She still didn't have the hang of enhanced super speed yet, but at least she was heading in the right direction. "Hang on, Tails," she whispered encouragingly. She crossed the bridge to Knothole and headed straight for Uncle Chuck's hut. Before he got there, Donovan landed in front of her, causing her to veer off and stop. "Still don't have the hang of using the ring, huh, Creator of the Void?" He asked with a smirk. Sandra set Tails gently on the ground. "I don't suppose you're here to bring him back, are you?" she asked coolly. "What do you think?" "I thought as much." Her eyes and hands began to glow again. "I warn you, this time I won't miss, especially seeing you know what I really am." "Yes, but will you risk everything you have worked to accomplish here?" He made a gesture encompassing all of Knothole. "Think of your mission, whatever that may be." "My mission be damned!" she yelled, starting to form the spear again. Tails groaned, turning on his side. "Sandra?" he called weakly. Sandra looked at Tails. Her hands began to tremble and light began to fade. "No, Sandra, stay down! Stay snapped!" "So, you don't want him to know, huh?" Donovan asked. "I thought as much." In one motion, he pulled a sword from his back. He had put him on a new vest and placed the point against Tails' throat. "If you want him alive, you'll put one chip on yourself and the other on him," he said, holding out 2 chips in his free hand. Sandra stared at the hand. "Just don't hurt him," she whispered, taking the chips and doing as she told. Donovan smiled as he pushed a button, sending them both to Rumbletropolis. "Finally,"
he said. The wait is over. I have won.
I am thinking that you should not be jumping to conclusions so quickly, Danny, a voice said from behind him. Donovan turned quickly, bringing up his sword. Antoine blocked it with one he took from underneath his jacket and stared grimly at the squirrel in front of him. Donovan's expression changed from one exultation to one of shock.
But how did you get free?
Sally found the tip you used to teleport. I believe that is what Bunny said to us, that said. Antoine said, his voice cool, but still full of anger. She used the code to reverse the programming when you had sent Tails and Thunder in, and I came out.
Donovan started circling to his right, but I disabled the call.
Perhaps,
Antoine replied, trying to keep Donovan directly in front of him.
But Sonic connected a power link to her and was able to do what is needed.
Clever, Donovan admitted. I don't suppose you could letting me teleport you back to Robotropolis, would you?
I do not suppose you'd be considering returning my friends.
You know I cannot do that.
Then, on guard! Antoine struck out, trying to keep Donovan on the defensive. He hadn't practiced his fencing in a long time, relying mostly on his knowledge of Kung Fu. Donovan weathered Antoine's opening flurry and expertly reversed the situation, putting Antoine on the defensive. They dueled for many minutes, during which time a crowd began to form. The citizens of Knothole surrounded the two combatants, not interfering, but not letting the other run away. During the duel, Roller and Dulcie noticed a light purple glow surrounded Antoine's upper right arm and nodded to himself. If Donovan noticed, he paid no attention.
Enough of this,
Donovan said, disarming Antoine with a flick of his wrist. Antoine fell to the ground and crawled slowly backwards.
I did not want it to come to this, Anthony, Donovan said regretfully, but it must.
Why will you not let us help you? Antoine asked, staring at Donovan's sword. I am knowing that Snively is holding something above your head. Perhaps we can help.
If only I could believe that. But it's gone too far to stop now.
Farewell, Anthony.
He drew his sword and thrust downward, aiming for Antoine's heart. Safely, Antoine brought up his right arm to block the thrust. The sword bounced off with a resounding clang. Clang? Donovan asked, looking at the sword.
I know the whole partly roboticization arm that comes only when he's aggressive. Anger was, brought up earlier in one of the earlier episodes. But I'm not wrong, am I? How cool would it have been if we did that and Antoine just grabbed the sword barehanded, holding onto it, staring at Donovan with all the growl that he could muster? I'm not alone in thinking this, am I? Wouldn't it be cooler to have Antoine grab this barehanded? And yes, I say this as the guy who makes fun of it. Antoine sprang to his feet and lunged forward. He clotheslined Donovan with his right arm, causing Donovan to do a full backflip and land on his back.
I have failed you, father,
Donovan said and passed out. Poor Donny, Antoine said, standing over his former friend. At that time, I might have tried to help you no matter what you said, but I cannot be forgiving for what you have almost caused. Antoine searched Donovan's vest for the remote. Finding it, he pushed the button and held it. Bunny appeared before him, then Tails, Sandra, and Sonic, and finally Sally and Nicole. Well done, Antoine, Sonic said half grudgingly. I still think I could have done it faster, though. Bye-bye, Sonic, Bunny said, but I did it. What are we going to do about him? Sally asked. Antoine pulled the chip off himself and placed it on Donovan. How about we deliver him to his employer? He asked and pushed the button. Donovan disappeared, and Nicole sat the other chips with a laser beam, rendering them useless. Meanwhile, the citizens of Knothole were demanding to know what had happened. Rosie and Dulcie pushed their way through them. Oh, good, Rosie said. My prayers are answered. And thank Tannis, Sally said. I'm just glad he was here. Yeah, Sonic replied. That mouse may be old, but he still knows what's needed. Rosie looked on as a cold water bit splashed on her. Tannis is a mouse? She asked. And in undertone she said, could it be 3 cheers for Antoine? Bunny and Dulcie yelled, hoisting him up on her shoulders, carrying him through Knothole to the cheers of everyone there, even Sonic. Antoine felt embarrassed by all the attention. He wanted nothing more than to let the whole thing drop and let life resume some sense of normalcy. But that Bunny climbed up next to him and hugged him close. Maybe buying the hero for Chinese ain't so bad, Bunny told him. Donovan woke up on a metal bed, sniffling and Metal Sonic standing beside him. He's coming around, Metal Sonic reported. I can see that, Sniffly said. Well, it seems you did not fulfill your end of the bargain, Donovan. Now did you?
You did not keep watch on them like I told you to, Donovan snapped. You would have prevented them from escaping.
Yes, but that was not part of our original agreement. Are you prepared to accept the consequences of your failure?
Just do it, Snively, he said, sitting up. Just remember what I told you.
Oh no, I wouldn't dream of it. Thing is, you did try. I just gotta let things remain as they are. But I'll also give you a warning.
And that is?
Raid the prisoner.
Still, he called over his shoulder. 2 SWAT bots walked in carrying a female bear who's roughly Donovan's age.
If you ever fail me again,
Stilvey said, pulling out a handgun from a concealed holster,
this will be your punishment.
He fired the gun right at the bear, who screamed in terror. No! Donovan yelled, looking away. He closed his eyes and fought the urge to show anyone what he had for lunch that day.
What is your status as a prisoner?
Sniffly asked. You are sadistic, Sniffly, Donovan said in a thick voice. Scan so 100% roboticization, sir, a SWAT bot said. Huh? Donovan said, opening his eyes and taking off his shades to look. The female bear had been turned into a robot. A roboticization gun! Donovan yelled, not comprehending what had happened.
Precisely,
Sniffly said proudly, blowing imaginary smoke from the barrel of the gun.
I just finished its testing today. Now leave before I change my mind and try it out on you.
Donovan stood up and walked out the door. Just know this, Snively, he said calmly. The balance of power is now heavily in your favor. Don't be too surprised if the Freedom Fighters start getting my services.
After what you just tried to do to them, I'll doubt they even accepted. And incidentally, that was my backup plan.
Donovan ran out the door, now Robotropolis. Sniffly's laughter haunting him the whole way. He'd been such a fool to believe Sniffly. How could I be so stupid? He thought. After I finish my updating my surveillance equipment, I will do whatever it takes to restore the balance.